I have been driving my brand new 2026 Tesla Model Y for several months and several thousand miles now. Well, so I guess it's just kind of new and not brand new. Today, I wanted to go over the Model Y with you after these few months, let you know what I think about it, compare it to other Tesla vehicles, but also talk about what's really nice about it from the perspective of a new owner, somebody who's never owned a Tesla before. If you have any more questions after you watch the video that I don't address, just leave them down below. I will do my best to get back to you and answer those questions for you. But with the tax credit ending in just a few weeks here, I think this video is pretty timely, and I have a lot of thoughts about this new Model Y. The car is awesome, so let's talk about it. So I will give you an overall if you don't want to watch the entire video and hear every detail. The car is amazing. There are very few faults that pretty much anyone is going to find with it. I think pretty much anyone buying this vehicle would be extremely happy with it. Of course, there's a few things. If you have to like tow giant trailers or something, you're not going to want to drive this vehicle, but outside of a few very specific situations that people need, this is one of the best vehicles you can possibly buy for the money. That is a big part of it. And even someone like Edmunds posted on X, who they are normally kind of like talking down about Tesla and saying negative things. Of course, these publications shouldn't be biased and should just say all the good and the bad. But Edmunds, I don't know, they just always seemed like they were kind of going for the clickbait route of negativity on Tesla. And I was very surprised to see them say it was the best car they've driven in 2025. And I think that just kind of reinforces what I'm going to say in this video, how good the new Model Y actually is. So I want to start with one of my favorite things about the vehicle, one of the most important things, and that is efficiency. When you're driving an EV, when you switch from gas to EV, you want efficiency. That's one of the main things you're going to do. You're going to use way less energy per mile to get where you're going, which means you're going to have reduced costs overall. You're going to spend less time fueling your vehicle. I will talk about how an EV can actually take less time to fuel than a gas car. And again, number one, you're going to spend less money on that fuel, whether it's electricity or gas, for every mile that you go. So after over 4,000 miles of driving, I am averaging 236 watt hours per mile. Now, the lower the number, the better. That's how much energy I'm using per mile. With the 80 kilowatt hour battery that the Model Y has, that extrapolates out to a full range of 338 miles, which is actually more than advertised by Tesla. And I am not driving this thing slowly. I have it in standard mode. I do not use chill mode. I accelerate fast with the kids when they're in the car because they think it's fun. I'm also not slamming the pedal all the time. I don't go 90 miles per hour on the freeway, but when I'm on the freeway, I'm usually going 75 to 80 miles per hour. That's my normal speed. So this is an insane efficiency to see out of the Model Y. Older Tesla vehicles would often get worse range than advertised. This was for many reasons, one of them being the EPA test cycle just wasn't accurate enough, and the newer test cycles are more accurate. They're getting closer to what the vehicles actually get. But overall, Tesla has made some insane refinements and changes to this brand new Model Y that unlock some crazy efficiency, and I have been so happy with it. Now, at the same time, is this the full story? No, unfortunately, it is not, because I've had the car so far over the summer, and of course in the winter, my efficiency is going to go down. So I would expect my average efficiency after 1 year, so going through all the seasons, to be around 280 watt hours per mile, somewhere in that range, which will be worse than advertised, but not by much. My older 2021 Model Y was well over 300 watt hours per mile, so the new Model Y is more efficient, but you'll have to wait for a 1 year update to see exactly how efficient this vehicle can be with the winter included. One of the big changes I'm noticing here is my efficiency off highway is extreme. The amount of energy I use per mile when I'm driving below highway speeds, anywhere up to about 50 miles per hour, is extremely low. It's pretty close to 200 watt hours per mile. If I always had that type of efficiency, the Model Y would be approaching 400 miles, which is crazy. But it's not the full range that I'm so excited about. Again, it's the efficiency. It's the low amount of energy I use for every mile I drive. It makes me feel better about those random trips to the store or doing some extra driving that I don't really need to do, but I kind of want to do. I just spend less per mile that I drive. Now, compared to a gas car, these savings are extreme. We're talking going from something like 20 or 15 cents a mile all the way down to like 5 cents a mile or even less than that, depending on your exact setup. So your fuel costs, forget everything else. You don't need to know miles per gallon. You don't need to know anything. All you need to know is how much you're spending per mile. And depending on what gas car you come from or what EV you come from, because I'm coming from a Cybertruck, so that's part of why I'm so excited about this efficiency, all you have to do is compare the cost per mile. These savings can be extreme. The fuel cost for an electric vehicle can be 25% the cost of a gas car. So you could go from paying 20 cents per mile that you drive all the way down to something like 5 cents per mile. And that's just fuel. I'm not even including the fact that you don't need to change brakes as often. You don't need to change your oil. Now, EVs, sometimes, for the most part, need more tires. That's not always true, but it can be, so I will throw that in there. But just the fuel costs nothing else, you're talking about a huge savings in that alone. And I've seen that efficiency make something really weird happen where somebody's payment for their electric car ends up being less than their gas bill for their gas car. So with some of the crazy deals out there from Tesla or other manufacturers, this EV efficiency can save you an insane amount of money while allowing you to also get a nicer vehicle. Now, the efficiency of your car is one thing, but what about the efficiency of your body? That's where today's sponsor, AG1, can help. I've been starting my mornings with AG1, and it's been one of the easiest parts of my routine. One scoop in cold water, and that's it. It supports my energy levels, supports my immune health, and helps replenish commonly underconsumed micronutrients. For me, it's a simple and fast way to fortify my daily nutrition. My wife Stephanie tried it, and she is now enjoying her own daily AG1 as well. AG1 Next Gen is clinically backed with over 75 vitamins, minerals, and probiotics. They even test for hundreds of contaminants, and it's NSF certified for sport, which is the gold standard for quality. And I like that it now comes in different flavors, so you can choose your favorite flavor. If you want to try it out, use my link down in the description below, or just scan that QR code you can see on the screen right now. With your first subscription, you'll get a free welcome kit that includes a canister for storage, a shaker bottle, a scoop, 5 AG1 travel packets, and a bottle of vitamin D. So make sure to use my link down below, drinkag1.com/dirtytesla, or scan the QR code to receive your free welcome gift. Huge thank you to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. All right, so efficiency is great. It is one of my favorite parts of the vehicle, and it kind of leads into charging, because if your vehicle is really efficient, you'll have to charge less. But in my opinion, my recommendation is that you do have home charging for your electric vehicle. Now, if you're driving less than, say, 50 miles a day, you could just plug into a standard wall outlet, a NEMA 515. It's going to charge really slow, but if you don't drive that much, it can be enough. I do recommend upgrading, though, to a faster level 2 charging experience. I charge my Model Y at 48 amps. I don't quite need that much, but it's what I have set up. Anything 32 amps or above is going to be an amazing experience for charging at home. But what's funny is if you have charging at home, over the span of a year, you actually can spend less time fueling your vehicle than you spend on a gas car. Now, let's say going to the gas station takes 5 minutes. I think it takes a couple minutes more than that when you consider you have to get off the road, park, put the pump in, wait for it to pump, take it out, get back on the road, all of that. But whatever, let's say 5 minutes per stop. You're going to the gas station once per week. Now, back when I drove a gas car, I drove a lot. And so I was going to the gas station twice a week. But I'll stick with average 5 minutes a week getting gas adds up to over 4 hours per year that you are spending putting gas in your car. Whereas when you have an EV, if you can charge at home, which I think you should be able to if you're going to buy one, you spend, 5 seconds plugging in? You park in the same spot you would already go to. You don't have to detour or go anywhere else. You plug in the car and you're done. It charges overnight. So the time you spend standing near your car, having to wait for it to do its thing, is basically nothing. Now, say you go on a road trip once a year, you have to make 3 or 4 stops at 20 minutes each. You're spending less time per year on charging than you are pumping gas. It's kind of crazy to think about it that way, but it is true, and you can spend less time fueling your EV than you do a gas car. The supercharging performance is the same here as the older Model 3 and Model Y, but because of that better efficiency, you technically need to charge a little bit less to go the same distance. So you could say you have a tiny reduction in charging times, but practically it's going to be about the same as any other Model 3 or Model Y you're going to buy. Now let's talk about probably the most important factor of purchasing the Model Y, and that's the price, of course. You need to compare it across all vehicles. The average price of a Model Y is below the average new car price in the US, but not by much. And a lot of people think Teslas are super expensive, so they don't go into it thinking, oh, I can afford this. And if you're looking for, an older used car, of course that's true. But if you're looking at Teslas that are older and used, the prices drop dramatically. So you can get a good deal there. But looking at a brand new Model Y with the federal tax credit, the rear wheel drive is only $37,500. What a deal, especially when, again, you consider that crazy efficiency, the low cost of driving per mile. The all-wheel drive, which is the vehicle I have, is $41,490. But we know in a few weeks that tax credit is coming to an end, and that brings the rear-wheel drive up to $44,990, so about $45,000, and about $49,000 for the all-wheel drive. Now, we have no idea what's going to happen in the next few weeks, how Tesla's going to change prices if the tax credit somehow gets extended, or exactly what's going to happen. But as of now, that's what we have. That's kind of what we can guess about. Now, the thing is, you have to take delivery by the end of the month. So if you want this vehicle, you better order it and tell Tesla, like, yo, I want this tax credit. I need the vehicle right now. My costs for charging are pretty low. Now, I have solar at home, so it's kind of hard for me to compare to people that don't have solar. It makes my charging costs like next to free, but then people say, oh, but you paid for the solar. And it's like, Yes, I did. I paid for the solar, but now I don't pay for the charging. So you can look at it however you want. If you want to say that I am kind of paying for my charging because I paid for the solar, okay, but it works out the same either way. I either paid a big lump sum up front to have the solar and now I don't pay for EV charging, or I'm kind of amortizing that cost over time. Every time I charge my vehicle, it gets cheaper and cheaper. So either way, the costs end up, if I don't have solar, being about 6 cents per mile that I'm driving. My energy costs during the day are about 20 cents per kilowatt hour, and at night they're closer to 10 cents per kilowatt hour. The electric company, of course, does all kind of weird stuff, so it's not exact, but it's somewhere around there. But when I take my solar into account, almost all of my electric vehicle charging is free. Now in the winter, I do have to do some charging without solar because we don't get much sun here in Michigan in the winter. But during the summer, pretty much I would say like 90% plus of my charging is absolutely free because I have my car set up to charge on solar, and it will only charge when there's excess solar energy that goes directly into the battery. So that costs me nothing. But let's say I pay full peak pricing for my electricity, which nobody would do. You'd schedule it to charge during the cheaper electric rates. But at 20 cents per kilowatt hour, it would have cost me so far $195 to go over 4,000 miles. So again, that's 195 divided by 4,000. It's really 4,100, and that's below. That's 4.8 cents a mile. It's about 5 cents a mile on peak pricing. That is crazy. I didn't realize it was that low. And if I did it like any normal person would and scheduled it to go off peak, it's actually half that because it's 10 cents per kilowatt hour instead of 20 cents. And we're at 2.5 cents per mile. That is ridiculous. That is such a low cost to run a vehicle. And again, we're not talking oil changes or brakes or anything like that. So again, costs are really good. Insurance, that's always a huge question. My insurance is the same as it's always been. I went from a Ford Focus to a Tesla Model 3. My rates went up like $10 a month or something. And then I switched insurance companies, and it actually ended up going lower for my Tesla Model 3. This was years ago than I had for my Ford Focus. And my my insurance rates have creeped up over time, of course. But there's been no huge gigantic jumps. I've shopped around. Insurance has creeped up, and I've kind of brought it back by switching companies a few times. But the cost has never been all that different from any of the gas cars that I've owned. So it depends on where you live. If you look into insurance and it's super expensive, I implore you to shop around. I have a couple dedicated videos on this you maybe should go watch. But the point is, if your insurance is expensive and you think it's too expensive, just go shop at other insurance companies. Your rates will probably come down. And I should add, I have pretty much full coverage on everything. My deductible is low. I think it's 100 or 500. I can't remember exactly. I have full glass coverage. I have rental coverage. If my car is in the shop for, time, I get all of my rental fees covered for renting a car. So it's not like I have like cheap, crappy insurance. I have everything. It's just that the rates have not been different than comparable gas cars, in my area. Accessories, I've added a few different things. I have sponsors. There's links down below if you want to save. There's some discount referral codes down there if you want to use those to check out some of my sponsors. But I got floor mats. Of course, that's like the most important. I got stuff to charge my phones. I have a Starlink Mini that I use in the back. Those are kind of my main accessories. I also got the Enhance Auto Sexy buttons with their commander. You can like change the way the LED light strip in the front works. I love it. It signals like when you're signaling or if someone's in your blind spot, it turns that whole side of the car yellow or red, depending on exactly what you're doing. So stuff like that enhances the car. And it's funny because, I like the minimalist look, but I do like a couple of buttons. Like I have one to open the glove box. I think that's kind of like everyone should have that. Tesla, just add a glove box button. And then I have one to turn on the cooled seat because I don't like clicking on the screen through like 5 different things to get the exact setting I want. So I have a sexy button that I just click and it's the exact cooled seat option that I want. Either turns it on or off. That's it. It's just so much simpler. So, people are like, oh, you have this buttonless car and you add buttons. It's like, yeah, everyone customizes their car, don't they? No vehicle is going to perfectly fit you. So there's lots of options on things you can add to make the vehicle better. I would say overall, these are very specific things. Besides the floor mats, you have to get some floor mats. These are very specific things that not everyone's going to care about or want, but what's nice is the Model 3 and the Model Y there's so many of them. The production is so high, the amount of vehicles that are sold. There's a bajillion accessories all over the place you can buy from all over. Look for reputable brands, in my opinion, because you'll find some really cheap stuff like on Amazon, and then you get it and it's just kind of junk. But it's at least you can try some cheap stuff and be like, oh, I don't like this, and then find a more expensive one from somebody better. It's just the experience I've had in buying all these accessories over the years. So yeah, there's a billion different accessories you can use. There's a few I've made videos before that I highly recommend, but there's a lot to personalize the vehicle to what you need. So I'll talk about the exterior design a little bit. It's subjective, so I don't care that much. I think it looks good. I like the light bar in the front. I know a lot of people are saying that it looks kind of generic now because a lot of people are doing it, but I don't know. Something about Tesla's design of the light bar I think looks really good. The Matrix headlights are one of my biggest and most favorite improvements over my Cybertruck, because the Cybertruck doesn't get that, which is crazy. But even older Model Ys have these Matrix headlights. Our 2023 Tesla Model Y has the same headlights. They work amazing at night. They are so cool. It's so great to watch them dim for oncoming cars and then re-brighten up the entire road. As you're driving, you don't have to set anything or change anything. You just have your brights on 100% of the time, and you can see so much better than pre-Matrix headlights. Panel gaps were all good. Paint was all good from what I could tell. I did scrutinize it, of course, a bit when I was picking it up, but Tesla's been good at this for a couple of years now. I think starting in like late 22 or so, maybe early 23. Tesla really had this nailed down for the most part. Of course, there will be some anomalies out there. Out of the million cars they make, you'll find a couple that, things are wrong. Personally, for me, I don't see the car when I'm driving it, so it's not that big of a deal to me. I picked the free paint because I didn't want to pay for paint that I'm not going to see unless I'm like walking up to the car to drive away. Hopping into the interior of the car, one of the things I was most impressed with is how quiet the ride is and how smooth the ride is. It's crazy. If you have not experienced a new Model Y yet, go test drive one and you're going to be like, this is insane. I can't believe it. Tesla finally nailed this aspect of the car. It feels and sounds so good. And there were no creaks or squeaks or rattles or anything like that, at least for the first about 1,000 miles. And stuff started to show up. Unfortunately, I'm so disappointed because the car was so rock solid and quiet and perfect, but some stuff did happen. I started to get a rattle near the front of the dash, and my seat started to squeak pretty loud. It was too much to just ignore. So I have had one service on my new Model Y so far in the ownership, and actually, technically I've had two because I brought it in, and they found that the rattle that I heard in the front was the light bar, the new part, of course, had a slight rattle, and when they tried to fix it, something broke with the light bar, so I had to go back a second time because they didn't have the part, and they replaced all that. So that one's gone. It was getting pretty loud. It wasn't there for the first like few hundred miles or so, and then it showed up. It's totally gone now. The seat squeaking, they did fix in that first appointment. I could hear it when I was turning, or if I'd push back on the seat or something, I would hear it, and they fixed it. But just like literally yesterday, I'm so glad I've delayed this video so much. Like yesterday, the squeak started to come back. And so I'm playing with like my seat position and stuff. I probably will bring it back to Tesla. I hate going in there all the time for this stuff. I mean, I've been there twice in, 3 or 4 months, but I hate having to keep going in. It's one of the reasons I got rid of the Cybertruck, but I'm not going to live with like this loud squeaking seat every time I turn the car. It's crazy. It's far too loud. So something they changed there is doing that. And then the last little rattle I have is the sun visor on the top. There's something loose, like especially where it connects to the car. I can't exactly tell what it is, but on my dirt roads, that's mostly where I notice this stuff. It's making a little noise that it wasn't before. So when I first picked up the car, super impressed with how quiet it is. As it is today, I'm still very impressed, but I'm a little disappointed that a couple of these things popped up so quickly. Now, if the car was 3 years old and, had 70,000 miles on it, of course, things are going to come loose over time. But after 4,000 miles in 3 months, I know I live on bumpy dirt roads, but come on, these things should be held together. You're spending almost 50 grand on a car. It should not be squeaking and rattling like a 20-year-old Altima or something. Outside of that, for me, the interior is pretty much perfect. I hate to not complain about stuff because this is kind of like a review and letting you know what you should expect from the car. But the good news is it's perfect. The cooled seats are amazing. The HVAC works great. The road noise is nothing compared to anything I've ever heard before. The suspension is amazing. It is one of the smoothest rides you'll ever feel. Now, the Cybertruck, just a weird comparison, but the Cybertruck's suspension was better. The vehicle is bigger, it's higher up, it's air suspension, but it's not that much better. It's not double the price better. Even the Model X, so the Cybertruck for me is the best Tesla suspension. Model X is right after that. The new Model Y is approaching that Model X suspension comfort. Now, I haven't driven the brand new refresh Model X where they changed the paint color, but from my experience with the refresh Model X, the Cybertruck, the Model Y suspension is right up there in that league. It is not as good. Again, don't get me wrong, but it's really freaking close, especially when you compare the price to this vehicle compared to more expensive vehicles, it is crazy what you're getting. Driving, it's a Tesla. It drives like all other Teslas. It feels really good. Acceleration is really punchy. I don't have the acceleration boost. I'm like kind of tempted, but it's funny because we have it in our 2023 Model Y, and I don't notice that much of a difference, I'm not going to lie, of the 2023 versus the 2026 in acceleration performance, even though the 2023 has acceleration boost and the 2026 does not. So it feels good. It's obviously still one of the fastest cars on the road. Now, a lot of EVs are coming out, so a lot of them have this punchy acceleration, but what I find is other manufacturers really mute that like huge kick you get in the beginning. I'm not sure why they do that, but they add this little tiny artificial delay, whereas Tesla doesn't seem to do that. So the way I explain it to people that have never driven it is it's like the accelerator pedal is connected to your brain. There's no delay. You're like, I want to go. And as soon as you're thinking that and like your neurons are moving from your brain to your foot to, I know that's not how it works, but, and your foot is moving the accelerator, it's like all happens at the same time. It's insane how instant it is. And if you drive these EVs back to back, try like a Model Y and then try, I don't know, some other EV from someone else and just floor it. Even like Rivian, you'll feel this like, it's like this tiny delay. It's like a fraction of a second, but when you're used to it being 0 fractions of a second, it makes a difference, and it feels so good in the Tesla. Stability, of course, is awesome. Handling, all of that. I mean, you know, it's a crossover SUV. It's probably not going to roll unless you do something really crazy. Safety, it's one of the safest cars on the road. Of course, this is very important, along with being comfortable and capable and self-driving, which we'll get into. And it's just, again, it's hard to overemphasize like how good of an overall package this vehicle really is. Software, of course, this is one of the best aspects of a Tesla, is their software is unmatched. They do everything in-house, so the parts are Tesla, the software is Tesla, so they don't have to make different things communicate from different companies. They can update stuff if there's any kind of bugs or lag or anything, they can update that, but there hasn't been anything. The only thing, the only one problem I had, which honestly, I don't know if it was software or if it was mechanical. I think it was mechanical, but when I first got it, my glove box wouldn't open. The glove box, again, is just a button on the touchscreen, and this is before I had installed the sexy buttons. And I touched the touchscreen button, and there's no feedback whatsoever. Of course, the screen doesn't have like haptic feedback, but the icon doesn't even change color or anything for the glove box when you touch it, and nothing was happening. And so I was like, this is weird. Like, whatever, I'll deal with it later. And then it was working fine, and the glove box would open, but then it wasn't working. So I don't know if it was a touchscreen or what, but I told service about it and they said they fixed it. I don't know what they did though. So it's working now. Other than that, the software has been like perfect, exactly perfect. There's no lag. If you've used a Tesla, you know, the software is top notch. The refresh rate on the screen looks amazing. Everything loads really quickly. If you have a decent cellular connection, it does rely on AT&T LTE. So sometimes that can be a little spotty, but of course, if you have either Wi-Fi or a good cellular connection, the screen just works great. Zooming on the maps, moving around the menus, everything is just instant and fast. It's really impressive, especially again, if you hop into another car from anyone else. Rivian's probably the best after Tesla, but even them, if you compare the software, it's no match. Tesla's software is just a dream to use. And then going into software, of course, we got to talk about full self-driving, one of the main attractors of Tesla, at least to nerds. Most people are not buying or even using full self-driving, but if you're watching this and you're not familiar with Tesla, you're thinking about getting one, try the full self-driving. Do either get a free trial from using a referral code or just spend the $99, try it out for a month, give it some time, realize it's going to do things different than you. So you might be like, oh, I didn't really like that, but it's not wrong all the time. You get what I'm saying? Like, people drive differently. If someone else is driving you, you might be like, oh, I don't like the way they're braking or accelerating or turning or whatever. They're not wrong. They're just different than you. And the software is a lot like that. And if you give it some time, really get used to it, let it do what it needs to do safely, of course, I think you'll find that you'll be very impressed. It is extremely capable. It does not always drive exactly the way I want to. It's not always the speed I like. It doesn't always take turns the way I like or go when I think it should go, but it is extremely capable and fun to use. So you have to try it. If you don't like it, just, then don't subscribe anymore. But it is working so well, and we should be getting an update here in the next few weeks to the newer version that, who knows, will do everything even better than it already does. Outside of the self-driving stuff, it has auto park, smart summon, which are, nice features to use sometimes. I don't use them much. We use smart summon like in the rain sometimes, and the auto park I'll use. It's nice because you can like tell it to park, and then you can like take your seatbelt off. You're supposed to be paying attention still, of course, but you can kind of gather your things, get ready, and then when the car parks, you just hop out. You're like ready to go. So it's a nice feature to use. Without purchasing full self-driving, you get base autopilot, which is lane keep and speed keep. It works really well. You do have to do your own lane changes, which can get old, but you can improve this by using the sexy buttons that I talked about earlier. If you set it up in the app, you can make it so when you take over autopilot and make a lane change, the sexy buttons will automatically turn autopilot back on. You don't have to do anything. So it's almost like an automatic lane change without having to pay for FSD. So that's one of the really nice features of those. Daily use, of course, cargo capacity is great. It is not as good as, bigger vehicles, like obviously, but for the size, it's really good. In the US for now, there's only the 5-seater. So we will be using this to drive down to Florida in a few months. My wife is a little bit worried about the amount of space we have. I think we'll be all good. I think we'll be able to fit everything easily, but we do have roof racks just in case, and we could get, a top mounted case to put up there if we don't have enough room. So you do have that option. If it's not enough space, you can do roof racks. You also can get a hitch and put bikes or a small amount of storage back there as well if you want to do that. The tongue weight is about 350 pounds, so you can't put too much on there, but you can put a few bikes or a small amount of storage back there as well if that's what you prefer. But keep in mind, if you put bikes back there, it's going to mess with the autopilot and the full self-driving performance, so probably not your best bet. And if you add roof racks and put a big thing on the roof, it's going to hinder your efficiency, of course. But if you need that space, you need it. For daily, having that huge, wide open tailgate is awesome. This was one of the big reasons I went with the Model Y instead of the Model 3. I was very tempted to get a Model 3 Performance with the 0% financing and everything, but that trunk it just sucks. The opening is small. It's a good amount of space in there, but just the opening being so small hinders a lot. And having the higher ride height and the better suspension of the Model Y, it's just a better family vehicle, obviously, overall. But yeah, practicality, especially again, when you take into consideration that efficiency, the practicality is just through the roof. You can fit more than you need in there for the most part. The biggest negative really is just a Tesla issue overall, in that they don't have a bigger SUV, like a 7-seat SUV with 3 rows and still having good storage back there. I do think they're working on something coming soon, I hope. This is what they're definitely lacking as a company, is having this big boxy, like Traverse or Escalade style SUV. I really hope we see that from them soon. But for what you get, for the price, for the size, practicality is off the charts. You also, of course, have the frunk, which most EVs have, but some EVs still don't have that, and you'll never get in a gas car. So a little bit of additional space up there. And then in the back, where you normally have your gas tank, that's a big, another wide open space that you don't have in most gas cars. Some bigger SUVs do have this, but it's like an under trunk storage. You can put stuff down there to have additional storage space. And one of my biggest problems when making these videos is I kind of sometimes forget what's cool or interesting to people who haven't owned a Tesla before, because I've been driving them for so many years. So I made a quick little list. I just want to rattle these off really quick. These are things I think you will appreciate and find interesting if you've never owned a Tesla and you're thinking about getting one. So number one is the no start button. You just sit down and you press the brake. And by doing that, you're now in drive or reverse or whatever. The car is smart. If the car somehow picks the wrong gear, either drive or reverse, you can just use the screen and change it. Normally it picks the right one. And even using the screen to change your gear is awesome. It works really well. And it's nice not having that button that the older cars have. The phone is your key. It unlocks and drives the car immediately. And so you kind of forget this when you've been doing it for years, but having to have a key fob was so annoying. This is such a nice feature. You always have your phone on you, and the question is, oh, what if your phone dies? It's like, okay, well, what if you lose your key? It's kind of the same thing, right? In the 6 years I've owned my Tesla, I've always kept the key card on me. They give you a little credit card shaped thing you can keep as a backup. I have literally never once used it, even though I always have it on me. I always just use my phone. And if your phone dies, you can use that key card, or you can borrow someone else's phone. You can call and say, hey, wife, my phone is dead. Can you unlock the Tesla and start it? And then you'll have 2 minutes to get in the car, and you can drive it without any phone or key or anything if somebody else is logged into your account and can start it for you. The instant torque is amazing. Even on the slower Teslas, when you're comparing it to the changing of gears in a gas car, it's insane. I mean, it's hard to even describe. You just have to experience it for yourself. But I remember driving our older, Equinox, which I get it is not a sports car, but you step on the gas and just nothing happens. And then it starts to you hear it kind of rev up, and then it changes gears, and then it starts to go. It's crazy to think back on that. And just that alone makes me think that every car should be electric. It's just a lot more satisfying and, to be honest, a lot safer to have the car instantly respond to the inputs you give it. The regen braking is crazy. Not only do you need to not buy brakes anymore, but it gives you one pedal driving. It puts fuel back into your vehicle. So if you're at the top of a mountain and you have 50% battery, or heck, 1% battery, and you start driving down the mountain, by the time you get to the bottom, you'll have 20% more battery than you had at the top. You can't do that in a gas car. And in a gas car, your brakes would be smoking and they'd be overheated. And it's just something, again, that you take for granted. Only using the accelerator pedal, I pretty much never use the brake unless I need an emergency stop. The updates the car receives are amazing. It's like you receive a new car every few weeks. And yes, people will get mad when their older vehicles don't receive as many updates. And I get it. You get a Tesla because part of it is the tech and everything. But most cars, you buy them and then that's it. They never change again unless you pay for upgrades. Teslas get these software updates every few months that add new features that you didn't have before. The full self-driving cameras doubling or tripling on their duties as full self-driving and using as a backup camera and using as a security camera is really nice. Having Sentry mode built in, I park and my car just turns on the security cameras every time unless I tell it not to, is such a nice feature. Being able to use the backup camera while driving for better visibility has been huge sometimes. Having that front bumper camera is really nice. A lot of cars have these cameras now, but they can't always be utilized in the same way that Tesla lets you do it, especially while driving. The way the climate works, especially when you walk away from the car, is another thing you take for granted when you drive an electric vehicle. You kind of forget your car is like your phone. Your phone's always on. Like, yeah, it's sitting on the table and the screen's off, but it's on. It can receive texts, it can do things, it can download stuff. Same with your car. You're not in it, but it's still kind of on. It's just sleeping. And so because of that, you can leave the climate on. So if it's a really hot or really cold day and I'm running into the store for less than an hour, I just leave the climate on. I click the button, I say climate on, and I go in. By the time I get back to the car, it's the exact same temperature as when I left. It used maybe 1% of the battery, if that, and it's just a lot more convenient. If it's snowing when I go in shopping, by the time I get back out, the car's not covered in snow because I left the climate on. Just small things like that. If you were to do that in a gas car, like, yeah, you can leave your gas car on, but now you need to leave the keys in the car and you need to leave it running and it's burning gas and letting out exhaust, and you can tell that it's on and running. In an EV, when I have the HVAC on, like, yeah, there's a small hum, but it's fully locked up. My phone is the key. I can control it all wherever I am with my phone. And it's not like it's running. It's just using that one utility it can use because it's always on. And then for Teslas especially is the supercharging network. You can't avoid it. Yes, other vehicles can use it now. It's not as convenient and it's not as expansive for those other vehicles. Tesla still has this locked down. Their charging is not the fastest in the game, but it is the most reliable by far, and it is the most expansive. So pretty much anywhere you go, there are Tesla chargers, and it allows you to drive anywhere you want at any time at a pretty decent cost. It's more expensive than charging at home, but it's pretty much always cheaper than any other option you have on the market. So overall, I am extremely impressed with this new Model Y, and I think 99% of people that buy this vehicle would be extremely happy with it, especially what you're getting for the price. That's kind of the biggest theme of this. My most annoying part of this is just the rattles I already have. I thought Tesla would have had this nailed down by now, and being just a few months in and already having a few different rattles and squeaks is just like, it's typical Tesla, but I just had hoped by now they would be past that. I would definitely recommend this vehicle to anyone at all, even remotely interested in electric vehicles. It's going to be the best EV you can buy for the price out of anything, pretty much. And I think you'll be extremely happy with it. In the future, I'm excited to see how it handles in the winter and exactly what the efficiency is going to be. I know it's going to be worse, but I have a feeling that it's not going to be as bad as I think it will be.